Hi, everyone. Welcome to the session of Florence Scovel Shinn, and we are reading and continuing on in the book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. As you can see, my book's very loved and very old. This was the first manifesting book I ever got in 1995. My Law of Attraction friend bought it for me. This was my first introduction to this whole world that we now explore, this LOA, Neville, Florence world. So, it is the law of non-resistance, which is so little understood. And this is just following on. I'm just going back a little bit about her not wanting to go under the ladder story. Someone has said that courage contains genius and magic. Face a situation fearlessly, and there is no situation to face. It falls away of its own weight. The explanation is that fear attracted the ladder on the woman's pathway, and fearlessness removed it. Thus, the invisible forces are ever working for man, who is always pulling the strings himself, though he doesn't know it. Owing to the vibratory power of words, whatever man voices, he begins to attract. People who continually speak of disease invariably attract it. After man knows the truth, he cannot be too careful of his words. For example, I have a friend who often says on the phone, "Do come see me and have a fine old-fashioned chat." This old-fashioned chat means an hour of about 500 to 1,000 destructive words. The principal topics being loss, lack, failure, and sickness. I replied, "No, thank you. I've had enough of old-fashioned chats in my life. They're too expensive, but I will be glad to have a new-fashioned chat and talk about what we want, not what we don't want." There is an old saying that man only dares use his words for three purposes: to heal, to bless, or to prosper. What man says of others will be said of him, and what he wishes for another, he is wishing for himself. Curses like chickens come home to roost. If a man wishes someone bad luck, he is sure to attract bad luck to himself. For if he wishes to aid someone to success, he is wishing and aiding himself to success. The body may be renewed and transformed through the spoken word, and clear vision and disease be completely wiped out of the consciousness. The metaphysician knows that all disease has a mental correspondence, and in order to heal the body, one must first heal the soul. The soul is the subconscious mind, and it must be saved from wrong thinking. In the 23rd Psalm, we read, "He restoreth my soul." This means that the subconscious mind or soul must be restored with the right ideas of the mystical marriage. Is the marriage of the soul and the spirit, or the subconscious and the superconscious. They must be one. When the subconscious is flooded with the perfect ideas of the superconscious, God and man are one. I and the Father are one. That is, he is one with the realm of perfect ideas. He is the man made in God's likeness and image, imagination, and is given power and dominion over all created things, his mind, body, and affairs. Okay? Now, as we're reading this, the idea is for you to think about, how do I apply this to what I'm going through? So often, little bits and pieces can be applied. It is safe to say that all sickness and unhappiness comes from the violation of the law of love. A new commandment I give unto thee. Love one another, and in the game of life, love or goodwill takes every trick. For example, a woman I know had for years the appearance of a terrible skin disease. The doctors told her it was incurable, and she was in despair. She was on stage, and she feared she would soon have to give up her profession, as she had no other means of support. She, however, procured a good engagement, and on the opening night made a great hit. She received flattering notices from the critics, and was joyful and elated. The next day, she received a notice of dismissal. A man in the cast had been jealous of her success and had caused her to be sent away. He felt hatred and resentment taking complete. She felt hatred and resentment taking complete possession of her, and she cried out, "Oh God, don't let me hate that man." That night she worked for hours in the silence. She said she soon came into a very deep silence. I seemed to be at peace with myself, with the man, and with the whole world. I continued this for 2 following nights. On the 3rd day, I found I was healed completely of the skin disease. In asking for love or goodwill, she had fulfilled the law. For love is the fulfilling of the law. And the disease, which came from subconscious resentment, was wiped out. Continual criticism produces rheumatism, as critical, inharmonious thoughts cause unnatural deposits in the blood, which settle in the joints. False growths are caused by jealousy, hatred, unforgiveness, fear, etc. Every disease is caused by a mind not at ease. I said once in my class, there is no use asking anyone, "What's the matter with you?" We might just as well say, "Who's the matter with you?" Unforgiveness is the most prolific cause of disease. It will harden arteries or liver and affect the eyesight. In its train are endless ills. I called on a woman one day who said she was ill from having eaten a poisoned oyster. I replied, "Oh no, the oyster was harmless. You poisoned the oyster." "What's the matter with you?" she answered. "Oh, about 19 people." She had quarreled with 19 people and had become so inharmonious that she attracted the wrong oyster. Any inharmony on the external indicates there is mental inharmony. As the within, so the without. Man's only enemies are within himself, and man's foes shall not be they of his own household. Personality is one of the last enemies to be overcome, as this planet is taking an initiation in love. It was Christ's message, peace on earth, goodwill towards man. The enlightened man, therefore, endeavors to perfect himself upon his neighbor. His work is with himself to send out goodwill and blessings to every man. And the marvelous thing is that if one blesses a man, he has no power to harm him. For example, a man came to me asking to treat for success in business. He was selling machinery, and the rival appeared on the scene with what he proclaimed was a better machine. And my friend feared defeat. I said, first of all, we must wipe out all fear and know that God protects your interests and that the divine idea must come out of the situation. That is, the right machine will be sold by the right man to the right man. And I added, don't hold one critical thought towards that man. Bless him all day and be willing not to sell your machine if it's not the divine idea. So he went to the meeting, fearless and non-resistant, and blessing the other man. He said the outcome was very remarkable. The other man's machine refused to work, and he sold his without the slightest difficulty. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which spitefully use you and persecute you. Goodwill produces a great aura of protection about the one who sends it, and no weapon that is formed against him shall prosper. In other words, love and goodwill destroy the enemies within oneself. Therefore, one has no enemies on the external. There is peace on earth for him who sends goodwill to man. So that is the end of the chapter, The Power of the Word. Now, at any point, as we do in every lesson, if you want to ask something, if you want to break down the mechanics of something, just put your hand up and then I will call on you. The law of non-resistance. That's the chapter we're on now. If you can't find your place, we are starting the chapter, the law of non-resistance. Resist not evil, but not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Nothing on earth can resist an absolutely non-resistant person. The Chinese say that water is the most powerful element because it is perfectly non-resistant. It can wear away a rock and sleep all before it. Jesus Christ said, resist not evil, for he knew in reality there is no evil, therefore nothing to resist. Evil has come of man's vain imagination or a belief in two powers, good and evil. There is an old legend that Adam and Eve ate of Maya, the tree of illusion, and saw two powers instead of one, God. Therefore, evil is a false law man has made for himself through psychoma or soul sleep. Soul sleep means that man's soul has been hypnotized by the race belief of sin, sickness, and death, etc., which is carnal or mortal thought, and his affairs have outpictured his illusions. We have read in a preceding chapter that man's soul is his subconscious mind, and whatever he feels deeply, good or bad, is outpictured by that faithful servant. His body and affairs shows forth what he has been picturing. The sick man has pictured sickness, the poor man poverty, and the rich man wealth. People often say, why does a little child attract illness when it's too young even to know what it means? I answer that children are sensitive and receptive to the thoughts of others about them, and often outpicture the fears of their parents. I heard a metaphysician say, if you do not run your subconscious mind yourself, someone else will run it for you. Akbar.
Right. Hello, Agnes. Hello, everyone. My question is regarding inharmonious thoughts. So if they say goodwill to, she said goodwill and peace to all people.
Yes.
But if has been your abuser, how would someone know how to react or protect themselves
yes,
from a peaceful thought? For example, because that abuser could get something in them that makes them resentful and fearful of that person. But how would they, I'm thinking, how would they counteract that thought? That's my question. Sorry, I did say it in a roundabout way. Sorry, I didn't.
No, that's okay. If I understand you correctly, firstly, if someone's abused you in childhood or even in adulthood, there is usually fear, and there is usually some level of anger and hurt that goes with it. And I think firstly, it's understanding the mechanics of it. It's like, okay, that happened. I'm still feeling the effects of those emotions. But I know that if I don't forgive and bless them, my resentment is poisoning me. My whatever negative emotion I have, my anger towards them, my unforgiveness towards them, it poisons me. It's like me drinking poison. Once you understand forgiveness is for you, because I know when people have done things to me over the years, and some things, in my opinion, were unforgivable at that time, and probably still today in certain instances, that I couldn't just forgive them because I just thought, well, no matter how I look at this, no matter what angle I look at this from, what they did wasn't right. It wasn't right. So, and as human beings, we have certain rights and wrongs. I mean, stabbing someone, shooting someone isn't right. It's not, especially if that so you go, okay, if someone did something to me that I think wasn't right, I can't make peace with it unless I remember that the forgiveness is for me. It's to free me from the poisonous emotions that make my body sick, that make my mind sick. So when you say, okay, God, I need you to help me forgive that person so I can free myself from these negative emotions, because I don't think we can forgive sometimes. There's Akbar, I don't know if I ever mentioned it in any sessions that you and I have been in together, but I will, actually, I'll just write it down so I don't forget. There is probably the most mind-bending forgiveness story I've ever heard, is a woman who, and the story is quite disturbing. Her and her sister were part of the twin experiments, and her sister basically, when they were children, they were experimented on in the war. And it's a terrible story, but her video of forgiveness, it will reduce you to a blubbering mess, because you think, if this she can forgive that, then what the hell, I can forgive what I've been through. So I will link this story, and when you listen to it, yes, the story is very tragic, but her level of ability to forgive and understand the true meaning of forgiveness is profound. So I will put that in the description of this video for you to listen to, because when I saw this, it completely changed my ability to forgive, watching her go through what she explains. It's like it changed me forever. And anytime someone says, how can I forgive someone who's abused me? I show them this video, and it is so like, wow. It's another level of wow. So I will put it down below for you so you can have a listen. And then you can let me know next session what you think of it, if you get a chance to watch it. It's not really long. And she's only died not long ago, like in the last 3 or 4 years, this woman, because she's an elderly woman now, but her twin sister never made it, obviously. When, as a kid, she was basically, caught in the crossfire of all this nonsense that was going on, and she lost her life. So, but the lesson in forgiveness, like none other, I tell you, like none other.
My further question to forgiveness is, if you have forgiven that person and you've forgiven yourself in the process, are you still able to interact with them without having any kind of normally, without any kind of resentment, fear, anger? That's the thing. So when people, I know Never Goddard did say, you have to forgive people, because he did that with his ex-wife, I believe, as well, didn't he?
Yes, that's right.
I remember
she wouldn't divorce him.
That's right. To marry his new wife.
Yes, and then she ended up, the first wife ended up in court, and he came to basically help her out and said, she's a wonderful woman. She's made a mistake. Please consider, that this is the first offense. And the judge said to Neville, never in my life have I heard of an ex-husband coming in and saying the things you've said. Like, it was quite remarkable. And then because he said that and helped her out, she then released him from the marriage and gave him the divorce. So it's like this amazing opportunity showed up because he had forgiven her. And not only had he forgiven, he stepped in to assist her. His act of generosity of spirit, because basically she'd been screwing him, as in hanging on to not divorcing him and hindering him wanting to marry someone else. And yet they'd been separated for long amounts of time, like decades, and she still wouldn't release him out of spite. So in the end, her spite ended her up in court, and it was Neville's forgiveness that released her and released him. So profound.
Wow. Yeah, when you look at it like that, you need to kind of mentally release the stuff that's holding you from being harmonious to yourself, isn't it?
Yes. But I won't say to you, if you know someone's done certain things that are abusive, that you put yourself in there like a doormat again for it to possibly happen again.
Right.
As an adult, you go, okay, I forgive, I let go, I'm free of it, but I'm not going to put myself in a position where you're going to do it to me again. That's the self-love part.
I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking, when you forgive, that's it, just let it go. But yeah, they could still continue doing those things because they know they got away with it the first time.
Correct. And some people, that was in them before you met them, and that'll be with them long after you're gone, or after you never see them again, if that happens. That's, some people have got that stuff in them, and for whatever reason, you got to protect yourself from being in the crossfire. And part of self-love is being street smart around that, not anticipating it, but saying, okay, it happened once, I've let it go, I'm okay, but I will not put myself in a situation where you could possibly do that to me again. That's my learning, is to not put myself in that vulnerable position a second time. Because I don't want to have to try and forgive you twice. It was already hard enough the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Agnes.
Good question. Forgiveness is a big one. My goodness. Sarit.
I wanted to ask about the forgiveness part. The best way to do it is to write it down, like in the video that you shared, that the woman from the Holocaust and her twin sister did.
You can do it. I mean, there was like with the story we just read here, where the woman didn't want to hate that man, and she sat in prayer and meditation 3 nights in a row to forgive him. And then it cleared up her skin condition. I mean, there's different ways of doing it. I think it's working out, you might sit down and write a letter, and you might write down all the stuff that you need to say first, as in how angry you are, how hurt you are, how dare you. If you need to swear, say what you got to say. Raw conversation. Then after you've got all that out, then you can sit in prayer and meditation and go, okay, now I want to forgive. I don't want to carry this anymore. So sometimes you can do it in slightly different ways. Try it out and see what works for you, what works best.
Thank you. And one last thing, in the writing, can I get out all the negative emotions and then write, but I forgive you for what you did to me, or something like that?
Yeah, I forgive you because I want to free myself from carrying this negative emotion towards you. I want to free myself. I think if you bring it back to, because it's so easy when someone's done something bad to go, why the hell now do I have to forgive? You did the bad thing, and now I have to extend myself again? Like that's what comes up when you have been really wounded by someone. It's like, now I have to do extra work because you did something crappy to me. So it's like, well, hang on. If I write, I forgive you because I want to set myself free from the negative emotion, then it's like, I love myself, so I want to set myself free. It makes it easier when you come from your own perspective, in your own position, to forgive them so it benefits you. When you do it that way, like I remember I had a friend years ago who said to me, if someone's bothering you, pray for them. And I thought, I'm not wasting my time praying for someone that bugs me during the day. Now they're going to bug me in meditation. No. So I decided I would just do the self-love and the surrender and the let go and all of that, because I thought it was easier to do stuff for me than it was to do stuff for them when they were already in my head enough during the day, you see. So it's working out ways to make it easier for yourself. Sometimes you can't bless someone. Sometimes you can't pray for someone, depending on what they did. So do things in stages, and remember, if I forgive and let go, it frees me from any disease, any sickness, anything coming back to me. It frees me. My goodness, why would I not want to do that for myself? That seems to be an easier way to look at it, in my opinion. Just saying, forgive that person because it's the right thing to do. It's like, I don't want to forgive them because it's the right thing to do. They hurt me, so it's easy to have that. And that's the inner child again.
Exactly. But can I say, I forgive you so you can become a better person or good person or something like that, so you can have second chance? I don't know. in life, not by me, of course.
You write just whatever you write it from the heart. If you write from the heart, it will be the right words.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. All right, so where are we? I've lost my place now. Oh, yes, the children being sensitive and receptive to the thoughts of others about them and often outpicture the fears of their parents. I heard a metaphysician say, if you do not run your subconscious mind yourself, someone else will run it for you. Mothers often unconsciously attract illness and disasters to their children by continually holding them in thoughts of fear and watching for symptoms. For example, a friend asked a woman if her little girl had had the measles. She replied promptly, "Not yet." This implied that she was expecting the illness and therefore preparing the way for what she did not want for herself and her child. However, the man who is centered and established in the right thinking, the man who sends out only goodwill to his fellow man, and who is without fear, cannot be touched or influenced by the negative thoughts of others. In fact, he could then receive only good thoughts, as he himself sends forth only good thoughts. Resistance is hell, for it places man in a state of torment. A metaphysician once gave me a wonderful recipe for taking every trick in the game of life. It is the acme of non-resistance. He gave it in this way. At one time in my life, I baptized children, and of course they had many names. Now, I no longer baptize children, but I baptize events. But I give every event the same name. If I have a failure in baptize, I baptize its success in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost. In this, we see the great law of transmutation, founded by non-resistance. Through his spoken word, every failure was transmuted into success. For example, a woman who required money and who knew the spiritual law of opulence was thrown continually in a business way with a man who made her feel very poor. He talked lack and limitation, and she commenced to catch his poverty thoughts. So she disliked him and blamed him for her failure. She knew in order to demonstrate her supply, she must first feel that she had received a feeling of opulence and must precede its manifestation. It dawned upon her one day she was resisting the situation and seeing two powers instead of one. So she blessed the man and baptized the situation success. She affirmed, as there is only one power, God, this man is here for my good and my prosperity. Just what he did not seem to be there for. Soon after that, she met through this man a woman who gave her for services rendered several $1,000s, and the man moved to a distant city and faded harmoniously from her life. Make the statement, every man is a golden link in the chain of my good, for all men are God in manifestation, awaiting the opportunity given by man himself to serve the divine plan of his life. Bless your enemy and you rob him of his ammunition. His arrows will be transmuted into blessings. I'm just going to shut the door because they have been, I don't know if you can hear it, there's fireworks and it just won't stop. Halloween. Can you hear the fireworks or not? Is the line pretty clear?
I can't hear it, but there is fireworks where I live.
Yeah, it's the
It's
Halloween.
because of next week as well.
Oh,
I think it's Halloween and Diwali and fireworks display on the 5th.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Akbar. Oh, it happened
So
last night.
There's 3 things going.
There's
3 things this week.
That's good. As long as people are enjoying, that's the main thing before the weather gets too cold.
Well, I had it till 6:30 in the morning. There was a party going on, and they didn't finish till 6:30. I don't know how I did it.
I don't know how you did it.
I couldn't complain because there's loads of them. There's just.
I know it's over here too. It's just like everywhere. Everything's popping off everywhere. Oh my goodness.
I don't know how dogs and cats manage.
I know the animals. I know, and the wildlife. I know. Right. I always think about that too. Poor buggers. Oh, we're always disturbing them. Okay, let's continue. The money, the lady, blessing your enemy. So this law is true of nations as well as individuals. Bless a nation, send love and goodwill to every inhabitant, and it is robbed of its power to harm. Man can only get the right idea of non-resistance through spiritual understanding. My students have often said, I don't want to be a doormat. I reply, when you use non-resistance with wisdom, no one will ever be able to walk all over you. Another example, one day I was impatiently awaiting an important telephone call. I resisted every call that came in and made no outgoing calls myself, reasoning it might interfere with the one I was waiting for. Instead of saying, divine ideas never conflict, the call will come at the right time, leaving it to infinite intelligence to arrange, I commenced to manage things myself. I made the battle mine, not God's, and remained tense and anxious. The bell did not ring for about an hour, and I glanced at the phone and found the receiver had been off that length of time and the phone was disconnected. My anxiety, fear, and belief in interference had brought on a total eclipse of the telephone. Realizing what I had done, I commenced blessing the situation at once. I baptized it success and affirmed, I cannot lose any call that belongs to me by divine right. I am under grace and not under law. A friend rushed out to the nearest telephone to notify the company to reconnect. She entered a crowded grocery, but the proprietors left his customers and attended to the call himself. My phone was connected at once, and 2 minutes later, I received a very important call about an hour afterward, the one I had been awaiting. One ship's come in over a calm sea. So long as a man resists a situation, he will have it with him. If he runs away from it, it will run after him. For example, I repeated this to a woman one day, and she replied, how true that is. I was unhappy at home. I disliked my mother, who was critical and domineering. So I ran away and was married, but I married my mother, for my husband was exactly like my mother, and I had the same situation to face again. Agree with thine adversary quickly. That means agree that the adverse situation is good, be undisturbed by it, and it falls away of its own weight. None of these things move me is a wonderful affirmation. The inharmonious situation comes from some inharmony within man himself. When there is in him no emotional response to an inharmonious situation, it fades away forever from his pathway. So we see man's work is ever within himself. People have said to me, give treatments to change my husband or my brother. I reply, no, I will give treatments to change you. When you change, your husband and your brother will change. One of my students was in the habit of lying. I told her it was a failure method. If she lied, she would be lied to. She replied, I don't care. I can't possibly get along without lying. One day she was speaking on the phone to a man with whom she was very much in love. She turned to me and said, I don't trust him. I know he's lying to me. And I replied, well, you lie yourself. So someone has to lie to you, and you will be sure it will be just the person you want the truth from. Sometime after that, I saw her and she said, I'm cured of lying. I questioned, what cured you? She replied, I've been living with a woman who lied worse than I did. One is often cured of his faults by seeing them in others. Life is a mirror, and we find only ourselves reflected in our associates. Wendy.
Hi, everyone, and Agnes. Actually, here she's talking about no one to change but self, Neville Goddard's word, right? Is
it Neville Goddard's word, or is it Neville following Florence? We don't know.
Don't know. We don't know. But the law, that means no one to change but self, right?
Yes.
That's very, very important here. When we talk about forgiveness, no one to change. We change ourselves, right? It's in this world, no one except ourselves.
Oh, right? That's right.
So if we think like that, We will be the queen. We will not be the doormat. We will set strong boundaries. We will love ourselves. And that is the topmost priority. And then priority automatically comes to us. Is that true?
Yes, that's right. But you have to do yourself the thing that you would like others to do for you. It's like one that I see a lot. People want a commitment from somebody else, but they don't commit to the things that they're doing. As in, whatever it is, I'm not talking about work. I'm talking about, a commitment to a friend, a commitment to a study class, a commitment to finishing an online course, a commitment to, your parents to do something for them every Sunday. So it's when we don't follow through on our word, other people don't follow through on their word to us. And this is a big one that I see every single week. People saying that person won't commit. They won't call me when they say they will. They won't take me out when they said they would. And yet that very person has not committed to themselves to do the things that they have started. A lot of people start things, but not many people continue. So you're not committed to you. How can someone else commit to you? You've got to ingrain that in you, not so that someone else does the commitment to you, but that you do the commitment to you, because that's the thing that will develop you into a person who just has that self-love because you are important to yourself. If you're important to yourself, you will be important to others. It's that simple.
Oh, that commitment part also comes around lying when she is talking about, because it's exactly, we say that we do this, but we don't do it. That means we are not trusting. We are not, that comes into so many other aspects. Thank you for pointing out, because lying is also not committing to yourself, being truthful, being, because you made your, for example, I said that Agnes sent me email and I am attending this class. I made that commitment to her or to myself that I have to attend this. And that is what, the trust comes in, right? And I trust myself when I attend this class. Hey, I promised it and I am attending it, and it is good for me, not for her. And when I do it, then it's no one to change but self. Again.
That's it. That's it.
Right?
And I do think, Wendy, there is a real culture at the moment that I've seen probably for the last 10 years where everybody starts things. And when you see this is on the 1st of January, New Year's resolutions. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. By the second week of February, it's all kind of stopped. You've paid your gym membership. You're not using it. And it's that lack of commitment to the self. It does get reflected back to you, but also then when you start something and you don't continue, you never get the benefits of whatever it is you started. So it doesn't matter whether it's, I'm going to eat fruit every day and then I'm going to improve my digestion, or I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to improve my strength and my fitness. But it's not anybody can start stuff. There's like 1,000 people that start things and there's one person that continues. And that's the rabbit mentality versus the turtle mentality. And it's the turtles that get somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. That's obviously, that's why some people like me, I don't take New Year resolution. I take resolution every day. So it's basically, you don't put it at end of the year or beginning of the year. You do it every day. That is what the progress is called, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much. This comes to a lot of self-loving thing here. Thank you for organizing this class and reading this.
No problem. It's a wonderful book.
Yeah.
Elaine.
Okay, so quick question, and I don't mean to bring up forgiveness again, but
no, it's okay.
Okay. So it says no one to change but yourself. Let's say I was the one that hurt somebody else, and then I've taken the time to really forgive myself, and I have. But the person that I hurt, I made a mistake, brings it up every single time I meet with that person. what can someone do in that case? Because I've forgiven myself. I didn't know any better. It was a couple of years ago. I was younger, and
Yeah.
but I deeply hurt a friend.
Okay.
Who brings it up all the time. So how could I apply this in that situation?
Ask yourself, have I got in the contents of my consciousness, she doesn't forgive me, she doesn't forgive me, she doesn't forgive me, she doesn't forgive me. She's never going to forgive me. She's never going to let this go. She's never going to forgive me. Have you got that active? Because what you may have forgiven yourself, which is half of the nut, but the other half of the nut is what you're thinking about her. So are you doing that would be my question.
Okay. I haven't been doing that, but I will do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's hard to see it sometimes when you're in it, isn't it? It's hard to see. Yeah. I love jump. There's a meditation. I'll put this down in the description, but if you want to look it up beforehand, meditation ahead in time, or just put in ahead in time and listen to that video. Basically what you do is you jump to what you're here. She hasn't forgiven you. You've forgiven yourself. Jump ahead to say 3 months ahead, where she never brings it up again. You guys are talking normally. She understands her part in it. You understand your part in it. And you're just gone back to neutral where things are resolved.
Thank you so much. And I just found it.
Yeah.
It's your video, right? That's the one? Yeah.
And then you feel the relief of it, Elaine. Like, oh my God, thank goodness that's over. You get into that. Whew.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad you brought that up. Forgiveness and unforgiveness is a huge topic. Huge. I'm glad
Thank you. Thank you for that question, Elaine. When you say that, it's basically try to read the book. What is it called? The Florence book, Words or Wants, something
your
like
word.
that.
Yeah, your word is your want.
Word is your want. That there is a chapter called forgiveness, and there are affirmations for that. And you could use that and just sit and do that, because that's what I did. Because I also was in the same situation. I couldn't forgive my sister. And I was doing that a lot. Each time when I call her, I would think that, oh my God, she won't forgive me. And she would reply back, exactly, she will mirror me back, saying that thing. She will brought it up again and again and again and again. Okay. And thank you for pointing me out. It will help me as well. And I will forgive that. She will also forgive me.
That's it.
Thank you.
Nice. Beautiful. Okay. The woman, the mother, where are we now? Agree with thine adversary quickly. That means agree with the adverse situation is good, be undisturbed by it, and it falls away of its own weight. None of these things move me is a wonderful affirmation. The inharmonious situation comes from some inharmony within man's self. I'm just reading this again because it's highlighted and it's obviously something I thought was important. So I'm reading it twice. When there is in him no emotional response to an inharmonious situation, it fades away forever. So we see man's work is ever with himself. People have said to me, give treatments to change my husband or brother. And I reply, no, I will give treatments to change you. When you change, your husband and brother will change. Okay, I've gone way too far back because there's a story about the woman and the lying. So I'm going to jump forward. Man should bless the past and forget it if it keeps him in bondage, and bless the future, knowing it has in store for him endless joys, but live fully in the now. For example, a woman came to me complaining that she had no money with which to buy Christmas gifts. She said, last year was so different. I had plenty of money and gave lovely presents, and this year I have scarcely a cent. I replied, you will never demonstrate money while you are pathetic and living in the past. Live fully in the now and get ready to give Christmas presents. Dig your ditches and the money will come. She explained, I know what to do. I will buy some tinsel, twine, Christmas seals, and wrapping paper. I replied, do that, and the presents will come and stick themselves to the Christmas seals. This too was showing financial fearlessness and faith in God. As the reasoning mind said, keep every cent you have, as you are not sure you will get any more. She bought the seals, the paper, and the twine, and a few days before Christmas received a gift of several $100s. Buying the seals and twine had impressed the subconscious with expectancy, and opened the way for the manifestation of the money. She purchased all the presents in plenty of time. Man must live suspended in the moment. Now, as a thought, Laurie, are you near your phone or gadget? Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I just had a thought. Do you want to share your amazing success story that you're right in the middle of right now?
Oh, well, does anyone care?
Yes.
Okay.
I just, because people have been watching you moving around, you're packing boxes.
Sorry, I just
No,
keep,
no, no,
I'm
it's
so rubbish with that stuff. I'm like, I thought my microphone was off. It was on.
no, don't worry.
I just figured out the button that says gallery where I saw me. I had it on speaker. I didn't see.
No, don't worry. It was fine. I muted you and there was nothing came through. So don't worry. I know you're distracted because you're packing, but you're in the middle of a fantastic manifestation. You're in London and you don't have to share it, Laurie. It's only if you want.
No, I don't mind. I'm trying to think of, you know, when you're in it and it's almost like I shared with you how amazing, I mean, even how that link came about with my friend. But I'm trying to not, you know how I go in details. I'm trying to not bore everyone with details. So I decided to do an exercise. I have been scripting for 2 years, SP stuff, and always projecting to move. When I meet someone, if I meet someone, we put our eggs in our basket, and then I want to move to a house. And it was always linked to somebody else. And because I knew that I couldn't do it alone. And the thing, I wasn't, I mean, it was definitely a limited belief, but it was also, it was too much, too stressful, there was too many obstacles. So
And Laurie, let's also remind people, you are living like me, we're both in London, in one of the most expensive cities in the world. So let's just put that on top of the story you're about to tell.
Yes. And so I was, and I didn't know that I could, but I wouldn't even look into it. And I own my place. It's not paid off. I have a mortgage, but I own my place, and I've moved out after 4 years and moved out for 6 months, gutted it, refurbished it, built 2 rooms in the loft, and moved back in 5 years ago, and it was my nest for long term. And different things happen with Agnes, massively helped me with the 4 cartoon things, whatever it's called, the
rubbing
cartoon,
out, the rubbing out,
rubbing out, because I've had ongoing issue with the neighbor below, which is like I'm first floor and loft, and he's ground floor. Properties in London can be split in flats, and I spent months trying to work at forgiving him or forgiving me for not all the stuff you've been talking about. But at the end of the day, there was always that part of me that was aware I need out. I don't want to live with someone who keeps blackmailing me, the slightest mistake I make, all these things. And one day in January, as I was doing the rare scripts that I do, it came to me that how far do I have to move out in order to sell what I have and access a house? How do I have to go to zone 3, zone 4, zone 5, zone 6? Why don't I look? And what happened is it took me 4 months of researching areas south of the river, west, blah, 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 commute. And I just kept, but I wouldn't put my place on the market because I was too terrified. And then I saw 2 properties in my area, and it was way above my budget, but I was still looking because it was above my budget, but it was on the border of my budget, but too high. I couldn't reach that anyway. And then I kept thinking of this thing with my friend Olivia after when I bought my current place. I kept thinking, how did I manifest this place? Well, it was everything that I didn't know at the time about manifesting. It was just hard work, as in literally spending all my free time roaming. And then I made an offer and then someone outbid me. Then I found another property and then someone outbid me. And at the time I was looking around my son's school and it had to be there. And again, I wasn't thinking outside the box. And then I gave up and then I rented the basement of a friend. And then and one day my friend Olivia in her kitchen, standing with her iPad, she said, "Oh, have you looked at this property?" And it was a pocket of streets I didn't know. It was actually not at all where I was looking. It was near my work. It was even walking distance to my work, but I was so focused on, I need to be walking distance to my son's school, to drop him off, to run to work, to cycle to work. I wasn't thinking like that. I wasn't even affirming or manifesting then. I was just surviving. And this time I kept thinking, why don't I just keep scripting or thinking what I want? And so I made the list, which was a list that everyone who looked at it literally told me, you do know you have to let go of some stuff. Like you just have. And my list was everything I have here, plus the possibility of a wood burner fire, because that's my addiction. Plus it has to be in a community, plus it has to be in my budget, plus it's already refurbished, plus it's like, it's had all these things. And in my bonus was like off-street parking. I mean, it was things that were kind of like not even that important to me, but was thinking, and never found anything. Start looking at West Ealing, further out, Northfield, and really found a perfect property, except someone else got it. And then found another house, and then they wouldn't consider me because it was totally my budget. It was perfect, but they wouldn't consider me because I hadn't put my place on the market because I was too scared. Because if someone wanted my place, and again, fear. And I was thinking, but I know my place is going to sell in 5 minutes because I've spent so much. Everyone who walks in here says, oh my God, you just walk in, suitcase, everything's done up, every built-in cupboards in every room, storage, everything. So eventually I put my place on the market, and 8 days later I had 3 buyers. And then I was terrified because what if I never find as good as this? Everyone tells me, do not sell your place unless you find something. The market is crap. The interests have gone from 1.5% to 6%. I can't afford 6%. I had to port my mortgage before the deadline was January this year, and then I couldn't port my mortgage lock. There was so many conditions that it had to align by January 2025. And I accepted the buyers anyway. And I was like, I'm going to find something. I'm going to find something. I'm going to find something. And I'm looking in that area. And one day a friend of mine, Sarah, sends me a link. Have you looked at this property? And it's where I live now, down the road. And I never even I stopped looking because I couldn't afford my area. So I stopped looking. I spent months. And then in the end, I was like, okay, be reasonable. Look where you can. That house had gone on the market 5 months before. I still don't know why I never saw it, because it was the time it is 2 streets from where I am. I never saw it. A buyer came in, and 2-3 months after, the buyer pulled out for reasons I won't bore you with. And then the seller was really stressed because of a personal situation where they had to sell. I couldn't afford to offer as much as the buyer who had offered. I offered lower. They're basically selling, I mean, I felt bad for them, but they're selling pretty much the price they paid 10 years ago. They've done having built an office in the garden, that was one of my bonus that I was thinking, maybe a garden big enough. One day I could build an office if I practice, because I work for myself. And then that guy had already built it, wasn't billing, wasn't adding money for that, because it turned out that he built it with his own hand. I never knew. He's in the music business, but he used to be a builder as a kid. He built that thing. It was in my budget. It was cheaper, and he was in a hurry to sell. And my buyer, and he was in a chain of 3, which is a problem because you have to all align. And 3 weeks later, he decided, no, actually, we're just going to sell, and we have a second place in the country. So suddenly he's not in a chain. My buyers are not in a chain. I stay in my area. We figure out the financial thing we had to do. I'm meeting the deadline. I'm moving on Thursday. I've got boxes everywhere in this house. And it's happening. And everyone says, I can't believe you've got a lot of house for what you're paying. You just have, and I made a massive profit on my property, massive, which gives me the bridge to get the other one. And he's made no money on his property because he's done nothing to it. It's the way he bought it 10 years ago. So it's not pretty or anything, but it's perfect. And I wish I could manifest my personal life the way I do this.
You will. This is such an amazing, it's just so amazing. I mean, and in London, holy heck, property is unbelievable.
Pinching myself. I'm pinching myself, and it was, and I wasn't even, and one of my patients, someone I know who's very wealthy, said, do you have a broker? And I said, no, I'm doing my own thing with the bank. I'm doing my own mortgage, but I'm porting a thing and I'm borrowing, and my accountant's helping me. And he says, oh, you should use my guy. He's amazing. And I said, look, we don't live in the same world. He buys his house cash, and he's got 4 of them. And he's like, oh, no. He's like, I'm the only client he has like me. He says, he's got tons of normal people.
Yeah.
He knows. And I used that guy, and even though I had to pay him a fee, in 3 phone calls, he put together the financial thing to make it happen. So I wasn't even looking for someone. I was just looking for the house. So it is living in the end. I was looking for the house. I had all my list. I live in this. It lives in that. It's perfect. And things came my way to make it happen.
So great.
That's the story. Sorry.
So great. And the reason I wanted to get you to share the story, because we're going to see you on the other side as well if you come back to the group, and it'd be nice.
I will.
It's just so nice.
Next Saturday, I'm unpacking, and I have a friend, so probably not.
Yeah, maybe the week after. Yeah, just whenever you want.
Yeah.
But it's just when I knew you were right in the middle of this, you were packing, and you were, listening while you're packing and all of that. And I wanted people
getting the wrong day, getting the wrong time, logging on Friday night instead of Saturday, thinking it's Saturday morning, not Saturday night.
Oh my goodness. Well, look, with selling a place, buying a place, packing, moving, all of that just scrambles your everything. So
someone has a blue sky with palm tree that I haven't manifested yet.
Gabriela. Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it?
Oh my God. Where is that place in the world?
I'm not sure. Gabriela, is that your house, or is that just a picture? It's beautiful. We're not getting any sun here today.
This is just a picture.
It's beautiful.
But if the sky is like that where you live, that's my next manifestation.
This is picture. I am now based in Peru, but I always travel to Brazil. This picture was taken in Brazil.
Beautiful.
In the south of Brazil. Yes.
I'll mute myself so I
Thank you for sharing, Laurie. That was
My
really
pleasure.
good. I thought you might not have the energy to share all that, but I thought I'll just
No,
try
no,
you.
I'm
I'll
just
try
like,
you
you know what?
anyway.
I'm having a glass of wine. I'm sitting.
Good.
I will do my last thing tomorrow. I'm done for today.
Yeah, that's good. Saturday night. Saturday night. Well,
Congratulations.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations. That's a really good story of no matter how it looks, no matter what's going on in between, write your script, hold the vision, get clear, and you speak it into existence. And I think
Amazing story, yes.
yeah, it
Right.
isn't it? Isn't it? It's wonderful. Really good. Well, everybody, let's leave it at that for today. And I will upload this for you, and I will put those links that I mentioned in the description, and I'll email you the replay link. Thanks for joining. Lovely class. Lots of twists and turns. I love that. It's always the, you know, sometimes it's not the main dish, but the side salad that's the most interesting. So
I did
will-
have a question about and now we can do next time, because I caught halfway that you were talking about forgiveness. I think it was about how do you let go, you forgive for yourself. We've worked on that, but then it's always for me how to act in the 3D, because if I get to the place where I forgive some people that I feel didn't behave the way that was suitable for the situation, then I'm frozen at the idea that at some point I'm going to go back to that environment, which is a sports environment. And so right now, all I've ever done is fake happy, fake relaxed. So if I get to the place where I can forgive, which I'm not there yet, but if I can, instead of fake happy, and instead of thinking, well, let's talk and let me tell you why I pulled away, when you forgive for yourself, and it's not like an SP that's left your life or people you no longer see, and you are mixing with these people potentially, what to tell self in the head, like, I mean, I surrender, I let go, I surrender, I let go. How to behave without, they're not off the hook. No, but you have to be off the hook. And I get stuck.
Yeah. And that's understandable. I think it's a process, Laurie, of doing the forgiveness to forgive the self, as in I put myself in a situation that I didn't even know I was putting myself into, and then it came back on me. Okay, I understand that. Yes, they did the wrong thing. I understand that. But I have to make peace. If I'm going to walk back into that environment, I can't walk back in with that on the chip on my shoulder, because I will then attract it again. So it's when you understand, it's the energy with which you approach it. I'll give you an example. This will be easier to understand. Someone breaks your heart, and then you are heartbroken and you say, how will I ever trust anyone else again? Well, you fully trust the next person, because if you don't, you keep repeating it, not because you picked the wrong person, it's because you still are the same person, and you are still like this in your distrust and in your expecting something to happen again through the feeling of fear of the unknown. But you're not really fearful of the unknown per se, you're fearful of the same experience happening again. So it's all about you, your understanding. It's how you approach that environment is going to be your experience of them, those people.
But then how do I behave, even though I know what we do in the 3D doesn't matter, but how do I behave? I basically once I've really released it, I will naturally behave and be like, hey, how you doing? How's life? And
Yeah.
and be completely relaxed. And yet choosing not necessarily, oh yeah, well, thanks for inviting me, I might not go, but being genuinely relaxed.
Yes.
Because I was thinking, when people tell the example, for instance, let's say someone manifests someone who verbally or physically abused them or cheats on them, whatever, and then they say, okay, well, someone one day in a group said, I take responsibility, I manifested a narcissistic or a cheater or someone who verbally abused, and who I was then manifested that because my self-love was bad. So my self-love is bad, and I manifest people that are just kind of whatever they were. And so then suddenly you can say, okay, well, I'm no longer, I don't know how to ask the question. I'm no longer that person, and I can see it, and I don't want to associate with, I can see that that person is a narcissistic, or who cares about the word? I can see that person is not the kind of, they verbally abuse, I don't want to be with that person, but I'm not going to make them wrong.
Correct.
So if I don't make them wrong and I choose I'm not going to be with that person, I still am around them because of a group of people.
Yes.
It's literally getting to a place where I'm different. Therefore, even though I'm around the type of crap behavior, it doesn't affect me. That's the goal. It's just, I can be around it and it just doesn't matter.
Well, you're practicing the law of detachment and the law of non-resistance. It's not that you don't know who they are or what they've done, but you can move around it without, you just kind of shrug your shoulders and go, oh, well, that's not really the kind of, there's some people that we just don't genuinely, they're not our flock. They're just not. So you go, okay, they're not my flock.
It's not my flock. I don't make them wrong.
Yes, correct.
I've manifested being victim. My victim self has manifested them behaving like that and putting me aside. I don't get included in that group of people.
Yes.
Because I'm on victim mode. Once I get off victim mode, I don't make them wrong. It's just like, no, actually, they're not people. It's all right.
Exactly. And you are secure within that as you walk in there, that it doesn't matter, but you feel that it doesn't matter because you feel secure and you have a presence of groundedness within you. You don't need to be replaying childhood stuff of belonging. I belong. Wherever I go, I belong. Wherever I go, I meet my flock. Wherever I go, I am naturally included by the right people being my flock. So if you're not included, you don't take it you don't take the hit. So you're more, it's the law of detachment, Laurie. It's the law of detachment, the law of non-resistance. You don't resist what they're doing, and you detach when you are aware that they're not your flock. You don't take the hit.
And what about communication? Does it work against our self-development to ever have a discussion with one person? Say, well, this is what happened to me then, and this is how I felt, and this is why I choose, and I didn't agree with your behavior, and that's why I chose to just pull away from.
Pull away.
Yeah. So there is coaches I don't follow that says like you can never say anything in the 3D. I don't believe in that. I don't want to subscribe to that.
No.
But does it work against my work to actually express, even if it's years later, say, no, do you know what? I didn't like that. I don't agree with that.
No, I think sometimes the opportunity will present itself and you just go, oh, this is actually the right time. I might just say what I think, and I can say it quietly, and I don't have a huge amount of emotion about it. I might not have any emotion about it, but let me just.
About being in a place where we're trying to not have an emotion and being detached. That's what's rather than the actual fact of saying it versus not saying it, that's irrelevant. It's more
what's underneath when you
the
do.
intention behind. If my intention is like you just Napoleon self.
Napoleon self, yeah.
Yes. If it's I'm still in that energy, right? So as long as I'm still like this,
yes,
like you fucked up,
yeah,
it's all about you.
that's right.
That I'm trying to get. Okay.
Yeah. So just to sum up this, it's not whether you say something or don't say something that's the issue. It's what have you got underneath that's driving your decision. So if you're detached and you're happy to say something in a few words, that flows and it works. If you're full of non-forgiveness and resentment and you speak, that probably won't work and it'll backfire. It's not the action, it's the fuel underneath that is the thing to look at before you make your decision.
Okay, so what meditation or self-work can I do in addition to what you already know I do to just kind of visualize? So I guess I'm answering my own question. So visualize a peaceful discussion with one person that just where it's kind of like, hey, you know what? That's why it was for me. Tell me how it was for you. Okay, got it. Done.
Yeah.
Like something.
Yeah. Or our interaction works out for the highest good of all concerned.
Ooh, I like that. I have to write that down. I don't have papers. Who knows? Yeah. Okay. Our interaction.
I'll write it down and I'll email you because I'll forget too. Our interaction works out for the highest good of all concerned. There we go. I'll send you that, Laurie, so you'll remember.
Thank you.
Nice chat, everybody. Thank you, Florence, for your book. And thank you for the questions and the discussion. I love Florence. It's so nice I love Neville, but you know, we've done a lot of Neville. It's nice to do Florence and to really go. I
specifically bought it for this class. It's one of the first books I prepared. It's in a box.
Yeah, it's in a box. Don't worry. You'll pack. One day you'll unpack. We won't have finished the book, and you'll continue. All good. All right, everybody. I'm gonna go and have a little something to eat and go and watch something on Netflix for the rest of the evening, Saturday night. Lots of love. See you soon. See you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.